Example with the Minister of Defense, Njumu. She has no military experiences or even policing experiences. So is the apartheid doing all of this? Has the apartheid given orders for this to be done? So which shadows, Mr. President? Who is currently governing South Africa right now? President Ramaphosa cries, shadow of apartheid is still with us. Apartheid still casts a shadow on many lives of our people. Listen to this clip.
The shadow of apartheid is still with us. Apartheid still casts a shadow on the lives of many of our people. As we move forward, that shadow continues to follow us.
Let's assess. Apartheid plus our people equals to black South Africans, by national logic at least. So this statement sends alarms and red flags of divisions that our leaders perpetuate to keep the people away from uniting, because united citizens of South Africa are likely to be the downfall for this government. So in all of this, what is the real shadow that is dimming progress in South Africa? So let's compare. In Singapore, it took about 30 years for Singaporean government to transform from a struggling third world country into an economic powerhouse. And this was under Lee Kuan Yew's leadership. So Singapore focused on industrializations, education, infrastructure, strict governance, achieving rapid development. Why not South Africa? In China, the transformation began in 1978, and this was under Deng Xiaoping's economic reforms. So China went from extreme poverty to becoming the world's second largest economy. Thanks to all the Chinese presidents, including Xi Jinping, the shift focused on market reforms, mass industrializations, and global trade. And today, the very same China has launched an AI model, DeepSeek, that sent shockwaves in the US markets. And this was by a smaller budget, rather. So back to South Africa. Since the end of apartheid in 1994, South Africa has had 31 years to rebuild, yet it still faces over 30% of unemployment rate and 60.8% for the youth, making it the worst in the world. Economic mismanagement, corruptions, and worsening living conditions, cadre deployment. Unlike Singapore and China, South Africa lacks strong governance, long-term strategic planning, and decisive leadership to drive rapid economic growth in this country. So to answer the question by President about shadows, China and Singapore in a similar 31 years of leadership transformed way better than the government of South Africa did. So in 31 years of governance, what held you back? Lack of long-term strategic planning, poor educational infrastructure, reforms resulting to governance of chaos and public battles, corruptions, cadre deployment, and lack of ministerial experiences. Example with the Minister of Defense, Njumu. She has no military experiences or even policing experiences. So is the apartheid doing all of this? Has the apartheid given orders for this to be done? So which shadows, Mr. President? Who is currently governing South Africa right now? And the president goes on to say, and I quote, "We are a country that is characterized by extreme inequality, poverty, unemployment. Communities are threatened by crime and violence." Listen to this clip.
We are a country that is characterized by extreme inequality, by poverty, unemployment.
Speaking of extreme inequality, didn't he just stand there and publicly say our people with a tone referring to black South Africans? If you didn't, take a close listen to this clip again.
Of many of our people.
In all honesty though, who are the real victims of inequality? 31 years of leadership, yet they could not implement any policies of inclusion. And he further state the country is characterized by poverty and unemployment. Listen to this clip again.
By poverty, unemployment.
In 1994, when the ANC took over, the official unemployment rate was 20% officially, although we can argue that this does not account for the Bantustan and black population, but we stick with 20%. That was when the ANC took over. Compared to today, 2024, unemployment sits at over 32.1%, and that is a whooping 12.1 increase. And who was governing since then? Shouldn't they take accountability for all of this? Speaking of poverty, reports suggest that 1.1 trillion rand, a staggering 1.1 trillion rands, were spent on gambling. Gambling, just for people to make ends meet, an increase of 40% from previous years. This is massive. So again, is this still the apartheid pushing people to a brink of poverty? Is this still the shadow that is referring to that is making people to resort to gambling? No. So instead of recklessly uttering division-thick speeches, the president should have said, the people of South Africa and not our people. Why? Because the turmoil of apartheid affected other races too. Well, not worse than blacks, of course. But how do you think coloreds and Indians were treated in this country? White people who opposed apartheid regime, how do you think they were treated? Some as far as being assassinated by the very same regime of apartheid. He further goes on to say, and I quote, communities are threatened by crime, violence, and in some areas, the state itself is unable to reliably provide the protection and services they need. Yo, take a close listen to this clip.
Communities are threatened by crime and violence. In some areas, the state itself is unable to reliably provide the protection and the services that our people need.
And how do you interpret this statement? Unable to reliably provide. The word unable means not able. So how is this not an admission of failure? How do you sit there, listen to the president of a high authority publicly tell you without a shame that his governance is not able to provide protection and services that you need? How do you applaud and cheer to such a speech? What have you been reduced to? He publicly says that crime and violence is threatening communities, yet his government deployed South African National Defense Force to fight in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Congo? Why not deploy the soldiers to fight the very same crime and violence you complain about publicly in your own country? So we are not a priority. Crime and violence taking the lives of our fellow South Africans, black, white, colored, and Indians. Is this not a priority? Oh, nice question. Why was the very same defense force deployed during COVID-19 and not now when the crime rate is swelling by the moment? Why not now? We need them now. Where are they? They're in Congo, in a land that it has got nothing to do with our concern. So, an absolute credit to this lady and hats off for her analysis, of course, for this clip that she made. It is worth the quote. Let's take a close listen to this.
Is slowly but steadily improving. More South Africans are finding jobs.
Jobs.
And I quote, more South Africans are finding jobs. More South Africans are finding jobs. Listen to this clip.
Is slowly but steadily improving. More South Africans are finding jobs.
Jobs.
President Ray, which South Africans are you talking about? Maybe you're talking about South Africans in Madagascar, but those in Southern Africa are facing 33.5% unemployment from the 20% that you inherited from apartheid. Worse, the youth stand at 60 point staggering whooping 8. Yet he stands there confidently in a public domain stating most South Africans are finding jobs. Where? Tell us so that we can also go and look for employment. And this does not spare any profession at all, because even doctors are facing massive unemployment. In a recent interview, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, the Minister of Health, stated that budget cuts and lack of resources play a major role in this. Why you do not invest the money you're sending these, troops to fight in Democratic Republic of Congo? Why don't you take the very same money, invest it back to infrastructure to create employment? Still, the government allegedly did not hesitate to recruit and hire doctors from other countries while their own people suffer and scramble for the least. Let's continue this clip.
Inflation has been falling, making essential goods more affordable for households.
Which households can afford the lifestyle in South Africa? How many South African households are able to put food on the table? Because this is the opposite of what is actually happening.
Which surpluses? And which households can afford the lifestyle in South Africa? More lines unfolds as he says, and I quote, the logistics is also seeing signs of improvements. Railways have improved. Did you see the reality of rail destruction in South Africa? Cables are stolen, stations are vandalized and turned into shitholes. Yet the president confidently and publicly states that all is going well. Watch this clip, please.
Ramaphosa says the logistics sector is also showing signs of improvement.
Jesus!
And that long delays in handling imports and exports in South Africa's ports has been reduced, and rail freight is also flowing.
God, I do not have to pull more clips to prove that railways have been destroyed in this country. In fact, the president said the infrastructure in this country is improving, which is a lie. The current government failed to build anything. They went as far as lying about building 1 million houses, 1 million houses for the people of Alexandria. Do you remember?
Sisazowakha izindlu ezilingana no-1 million. 1 million ezindlu.
You took the president to Alexander and he promised people 1 million houses.
It was never 1 million.
Sisazowakha izindlu ezilingana no-1 million.
But it was what, 1,000?
No, it was never even 1,000.
What was
The
it?
1 million houses was in the figmentation of those who propagated.
How many did he promise?
1 million yezindlu zizowakhiwa lezo zindlu lapha Alexander Mamelane.
It was not 1 million. It was almost 100,000 houses that we
How
wanted.
many of those have you built since he made that promise in 2019 before the last election?
2019 was just 2 years ago.
Yeah, so?
Yes.
You need more than 2 years to build a house.
No, we are building every day. As we
In Alexander?
As we speak now, we are
No,
building
in
houses.
Alex.
We are building houses.
But in Alex?
Even in Alex, we are building
No,
houses everywhere.
there's not a single house that was built in Alex after that promise he made.
In an interview, when Fikile Mbalula was asked, this is how it all went. Majorly, we are building houses every day, but he was asked, in Alex, all he answered was nothing credible as always, but a dust of no clearance yet. That is the leadership that we're stuck with in South Africa. Thank you all for watching this video, and more to come, of course. And I would appreciate your support in liking, subscribing, sharing this video. Black, white, colored South Africans, we are all the same. Let's make our country a priority. Have a great evening.